Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My guest in this episode is MaryJo Papich, musician and very dedicated to music education, which led her to be the co-founder and first president of GEN, the very important Jazz Education Network. Here is MaryJo Papich. Thank you, MaryJo. It was so nice to see you, and thank you for being on the show. It's been a while that I've been trying to get you on this, and I know you're a very, very busy person, so I said I'm going to be patient. Eventually, this will happen. But thank you for being on this.
My pleasure, Aldo. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, are you kidding? You have a lot to say, but before we get going on this, talking about shaping your journey, tell us, for those of you, those out there listening who may not know your work, where did this all start for you? You know, I know you're in Iowa. You grew up in Iowa, but where did this start? This whole journey for you? What was that spark? What started it for you?
Well, even though I was raised by a single mother, because my dad died when I was little, there were 7 of us. We sang a lot, and a big brother played trumpet, and he was a great jazz trumpet player. And I found a theme that I wrote when I was 10 years old that said, I know what I want to do. I want to teach music, and I want to work with people. And I even put, and I want to make better people or inspire better people through music. And it really started way back then. And I knew I had a direction, and I have not been sorry for my 37 years in public school education and now at Bradley University, now working with music education students. So
nice.
Of course, there was all those things through there. And I was both, although I was both instrumental and vocal, I love both of them. And as I went into college, I started as a vocal major and switched to trumpet emphasis, instrumental my second year, but kept up with the voice. So I'm fairly comfortable in front of either ensemble, but my heart is instrumental.
All right. Yeah.
And I was a band director, for years and years. And,
so in the public school system.
But now I'm not playing anymore, and I'm co-conducting an ecumenical choir. It's going to Italy next week. So,
nice.
So, you never know where your journey takes you, and it's all about choices, as you know, that shape our journey. It's all about choices we make.
And when you went to university, was that really, you're really heading in the educational, how can I educate? How can I learn to educate? How can I expand this world? Is that what you were thinking?
I was thinking, as an administrator in fine arts, I was interviewing a lot of young teachers, and there were an awfully lot of them I didn't feel were as totally prepared as maybe they could have been. So when they got a new chair here at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, he came right here and said, "This is crazy. You should be on staff." And so I said, "Well, doing what?" And when music ed, that's my field. I love kids. I love people. And I have taught I started in rural, and then I went to a small town in Iowa, and then I moved to Peoria, which is, 100,000, and then ended up in Highland Park and Skokie, Chicago suburbs. So rural, urban, suburban. And so I thought, I've got a little bit to share yet. So I call myself semi-retired. And I arrange speakers to come in. I go into their classrooms and observe them and give them comments about a lot on communication and meeting the student where they are instead of coming from where you're coming from, but meet them where they are, and you won't go wrong,
Nice.
So that's what pushed me this direction. I'm still there. I've been there 4 years now.
But during this whole time, I know you're all involved in Grammy and all kinds of organizations. I mean, you're a voting member of Grammy also, right?
Well, actually, I helped choose the Music Educator of the Year award for the Grammys the past 11 years. And it's uh, it's a wonderful way for me to stay on top of the cutting edge things that are happening in music today in the classroom. And so that's been an experience. And now the Country Music Association just called me and want to talk. So I am going to talk to them. And I think we're going to talk about process. And everybody's always wanting to make that selection process um, the best it can be, you know. Um, but of course, I still spend a lot of time for Jazz Education Network.
Yes. Well, you were like the co-founder of the Jazz Education Network, which is, I mean, before that there was the IAGA, and I remember going to many of those conferences in New York. And
Yes.
then when that kind of fell apart or disintegrated, whatever the word would be, or stopped or closed its doors, I was so happy to see that there was a new organization, and that's when I met you, and I mean I've been following that organization, what you guys are doing, very closely. It's amazing what you're doing. So congratulations, first of all. And I was so happy to see, and I told all my friends, "Oh, there's a new organization. You got to go to this one." Yeah,
Thank you for doing that, although, grazie. It's been an experience. Dr. Lou Fisher and I, um,
right.
in 2008, really just kind of tried to pick up um, where the other organization left off, and we tried to incorporate what we felt were the good things the organization offered with more transparency and a closer eye on budget and finances and um, it's because of, you know, I never want to say we could have done it all alone because it's standing on the other organization's shoulders and the leaders, and all of us have great memories of IAJE, and
Yes.
the fact that it didn't move forward was pretty tough for all of us. And Lou and I were both on the board actually and said, well, we've got to keep moving on. Let's keep moving. Let's just do it. And you know, it was Memorial Day weekend actually of that last weekend of May 2008 that we sent a lot of notes out saying, come join us if you're interested. And you know, there won't be anything free. Just come and give your opinions. And we met for a Saturday, Sunday, and Lou and I went in real prepared. And we also had Bob Breithaupt from
Okay.
Percussive Arts Society and percussionist, as you well know,
Yes.
and another gentleman that was a nonprofit art specialist come and actually run the weekend. And we walked away with a website, a mission, uh, some goals, um, a draft bylaws, and election of officers. And they voted me as president. So I was the first president of Jazz Education Network. As we got busy and started meeting, had a volunteer board. Who wants to serve on the board? People raised their hand, wrote their names down. And we met at Dr. Lou's University, Capital University in Columbus, because we can meet there free, right?
Right.
And before we left that weekend, we also had a little treasury. Everybody, we passed the hat, and everybody came forth with money so we could have some money to get the organization going. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of well, you know, we've had quite a few conferences now, over 16. So we're on a roll, and we listen to our members. It's their organization. It's probably time for another survey. You know, we need to do what they need, and but we've done some exciting things, and there's always stuff coming up that's even more exciting.
Sure, and it's all an all inclusive thing. I mean, talking about Bob, I've known Bob for many, many years. Actually, he and I went to our first drum camp together. so, so we had our own stories that we reminded each other of back then. So I know Bob, and he's always been a major force in Columbus. Also, I mean, he had the shop. He was the chair of the percussion department, teacher. One of those guys like yourself, who's high energy and unstoppable, which is nice to see. You know, it's always nice to catch up with people like that as they're running. So you have to keep up running as fast, and it's nice. I mean, what I particularly like about the whole thing you've done with Jen is, I mean, there is so much. You know, the world jazz is very large. So from the traditional of what people know of jazz, but also the vocal, the world music, anything that has the improvisation element, all inclusive, which is fabulous. And I mean, I had the great opportunity of doing a clinic at one of them. I forget where it was. Oh, it was in Dallas. That's right. I did one, and it was fabulous. The energy that you guys invoke is great, and the learning process, and all those kids going out there. Everybody's supercharged. Everybody's there to share, meeting all kinds of people. You know, like Percussive Arts Society conference and some of the others. It's really nice to catch up with like-minded people, but. Yeah. What I particularly enjoyed, and I mentioned this to you, I said, you know, because at COSA, all that we do is really based on the family concept. And,
Yes.
and I mentioned that to you. I said, that really struck a chord with me, like treating it like family. What do we bring to the table? And that's what you are doing, which is...
Well, thank you. I feel strongly about that, and so does Lou. And we talk about that with the board. I love it when people write me after the conference and Lou too, and say not just was it informational and fun, but the feeling that you get, that family, extended family feeling. It's like our family reunion when we get back together, and you know, everybody's happy. Where can you go anymore that everybody's happy and doing great things? And I'm also, yeah, and you're doing such good work. You're doing all the countries you go to for music education. How exciting is that? One of the things that I'm really proud of for us is we started a Generations, JEN, of course, Generations Jazz Festival, uh, side by side with the conference. And so we have all these talented clinicians, musicians there. So, you know, for a badge, they'll clinic a group, and we have slots for groups, and we literally um, we fill it every year because the students
Nice.
get in, they get to be critiqued, they get to perform. Their names are in the program just like everyone else's, and they get a badge. They get to attend everything, and it has brought literally thousands to us. And that's just been a wonderful thing to see. And they have such an experience. And you know, we're talking about shaping the journey, you know, the choice for a director to come. And we have a slot for Title I schools in the area, and that we volunteer and let them come, you know, for no cost. And for them to come, these are life-changing things
Sure.
that can, just like your band camp did to you and Bob, um,
Yeah.
being together and experiencing this and watching people of your instrument or of the style that you like, or you know, and I am so always want to be inclusive and not exclusive. Jazz being exclusive will get us nowhere,
No.
right?
Yeah.
We've got to be inclusive of all forms of improvisation. And I just think that if, you know, if Miles Davis and Coltrane came back and heard all their stuff being played all the time, they would say, why are you playing the same old stuff? Where's your stuff? You know, where's your new stuff? And we need to encourage that and inspire that. And we
Yep.
do that at the Gen Conference.
Sure. No, I see it in the kids who come up and they're so energized. And it makes a difference in their lives. I know in my own experience at that particular camp, it was the Lidrich Percussion Symposium in Madison, Wisconsin at the time.
Yeah.
And that
Great.
just, I mean, when I came back from that, I was a different person. And I told my mother, don't tell anybody I'm back. Because then I learned, I met all these people, Gary Burton, Joe Morello, all these people I had admired and I'd never seen. I had records, but now I was working with those people, and that just sent me in a rocket. So I can see it in those kids. I know we do that with the COSA thing. It's exactly that, to work with people that when you leave there, you are a changed person and you're on a mission. And I see that at the Gen conferences, the kids in their groups and working together. And then having this relationship with their directors, the people they meet there, and beyond, because now they are a different person and they're on fire. So that's what we need. Because if you're not having fun, if you're not doing things with purpose, then it doesn't go very far, right?
That's right. That's right. I give a lot of career talks to area schools and in the arts, and I mention all the various careers, sometimes just in music, and sometimes I cover more arts. But yeah, the inspiration piece. And as I tell them all, don't you want to make a living doing something you like to do? Because, so many of their parents and so many of people they know or jobs that it's nothing that they're passionate about. And of course, being passionate is the key to good communication with students or adults, as you well know. If we're on fire, that's contagious, and they will be too. So I still stay in touch with so many of my students that I taught so many years ago, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
But what are some of the funny things that happened as you were? I mean, I know all about starting something new and having a vision, and of course I have my own stories and some of the crazy
Sure.
moments and things that you say that's impossible, but it is possible. And so, what are some of the things when you started this, which was a pretty big undertaking, an important one? What are some of the crazy things that came up that you had to deal with, or
Um,
funny, if you want to?
well, I don't know what to say. You know, I'm a doer, so I try to get things done, and I try to be happy at everything I do. But when you're waiting for the 501(c)(3) to come through, or I didn't know there would be so much excitement, so much energy that I was being called for interviews. I was being requested to come and do things, and I don't. Lou and I met all the time. We'd meet halfway and try to put things together and do things. And um, I don't know. There are more funny things that happen just in plain old teaching on the aha moments and just trying to uh, keep kids in line and then traveling with students. But I don't know what to say. I haven't
I don't want to
haven't
put you on the spot, but I mean, some of these funny things like, having people come up. There was one person we had, Ignacio Berroa, who was one of our, because we would have like 10, 15 faculty people, for example, and they're at the camp or wherever we are, which would be pretty far, maybe 40, 50 minutes, maybe an hour from an airport. And the person forgot his suitcase in the hotel or in the place. So somebody had to get a car and get to the airport in time to check in. Those kinds of crazy things, because everybody's so excited, you lose
left
track
their
of time.
suitcase. Oh boy. Well, we do outreach and we haven't done as much now since COVID, but yeah, remember getting up one morning and hopping a cab to go get a drum that we left, in a school in New Orleans in one of the parishes. And that was an experience in itself, and getting back. But yeah, life, brings you all kinds of situations, doesn't it?
Yeah. The other thing I was just thinking about is as you're expanding. I mean, you're based. I mean, you are based in Chicago, and the conference moves around in different cities. The What does the international scenario look like? The network of connecting with other folks from different countries, different cultures.
Well, let me back up and say we're based in Chicago because I did the 501(c)(3) work for the nonprofit here in Chicago. And in the beginning, so many, a majority of our members were from the Midwest. Um, but we actually have no home office. When somebody said, "Where's your office?" we all look at each other and lift our phones up, because there's no reason to have a home office. We don't have walk-in traffic. Um, Although we've talked about maybe refocusing in New Orleans and being there more as a board, as a conference. But internationally, we find that obviously more international members come when we're in New Orleans. They don't want to go to Dallas or Atlanta or Louisville as much as they want to come to the city of jazz.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at that. We have every year an international reception that the president and Lou and I host, and we've made friends. I've done some traveling. I was working on possibly getting an international conference, a short 2-day event in France, but I was doing that right before COVID, and then everything shut down, as you know, and then people were leery, and but we had over 40 countries with members in it before COVID. And now we still haven't reached that back up there. It's dropped down to like 30. So we're still working to get back up there. But I certainly, I'm a global person, and I think the farther we can reach, the more we can connect with one another all over the world is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I will be pushing to keep evolving and trying to get more happening that way. We change presidents every year, but we have their president-elect for 2 years to get to know what's what, and they have to be on the board a year before that. Then they're president 2 years, and then they're past president 2 years. So you make a huge commitment when
Right.
you're with Jen, and you're going to be a part of the top leadership. So everybody's view slightly changes, but I'm doing my best to encourage and inspire uh, that we need to stretch out just a little bit. And we have to do it in ways that we can get, obviously, it's got to be boots on the ground there to help us financially and implement.
Right.
And
Right.
so
No, and
I'm trying, although.
no, and I think it's important because I mean, music is of course, the universal language, and
Yes,
it's what breaks all borders.
yes.
It's what neutralizes everything, and it's the best form of diplomacy. Never, I mean, aside from the obvious that we know how great it is for society in general, but just getting messages across, it is the most incredible thing. Just being able to play and quickly in a situation, if it's music, I mean, I got a call to do a tour 3 days before the tour
Wow.
with Omar Sosa
Ah,
earlier this year, and it was one of these situations where his percussionist, his visa wasn't coming in time, so they reached out to me and said, "Would you be available to do the Canadian part of the tour, because the visa may not arrive in time, and we can't cancel. They're too important, all these
and
dates."
that's your home base, Canada, right?
Yes, I live in Montreal,
Yeah.
and so I was doing. I was taking a group to Cuba, as you know, for the past 22 years,
Yes.
We have our workshops there, but also we take big bands or choirs or orchestras traveling there. And I said, well, the dates just magically work, but I had to figure out, the flight times, and it was like almost by the razor sharp. It worked out, but I mean, is this kind of thing in music where you can do these things almost on the fly because it's music. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to learn the language, and even if nobody speaks, you just listen to it or read it, and we're there. Right? And especially in
Right.
jazz. So
Especially in jazz. Yes.
especially in jazz, and it makes it so personal, and everybody has a voice, right? So, and I said, here's is exactly what we're talking about on a global scale. This is people from different countries and different cultures coming together quickly like that. And we'd had so much fun, and everybody laughs more than anything else. Of course, the music is made, and and there's a lot of forward motion, a lot of coming together of all kinds of minds, and it doesn't matter any background, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
You
I'm
know, Aldo, have you ever performed at ISME, International Society of Music Education?
no.
Uh, that's exactly where they are. I mean, and they haven't done a lot with jazz, but just the last couple of years
Ah,
opening up to jazz and seeing the beautiful results of that. But talk about a true international experience. It's wonderful. Uh,
no,
that's
but
good.
it's
We
good to be.
purposely didn't call ourselves uh, international, um, even though we, we are. Uh, and one thing is we couldn't look just like the former organization, and trying to come up with a terminology that had jazz and education in it. So we just decided, you know what, people are going to come to us wherever they are in the world
Sure.
if they want to learn about jazz or are jazz aficionados or jazz pros or and we've stayed with that, and network has been a good thing because that's what we do at our conferences, right?
Yes.
We network and enjoy one another.
Yeah,
And
and I did attend that international uh, meeting that you held when I was there. In
yes, I remember. Yes.
Yes, and I met some of those people, and I'm in touch with some of them still.
Big group from Iceland this last year. It was like, wow, Iceland, a big group. And I'm like, I've got to get up to Iceland. They have a jazz festival. And of course,
Yes.
we're invited at those anytime we can come. That's a great thing. So,
Yeah. No, no,
uh,
but you're doing the right thing, of course, and it's nice to be able to reach out. And as I said, since it's a universal language, it makes it really easy. And if as long as you have the personalities to understand that, and I think we all do. I don't think that's
yes.
that's ever an issue. And it's really nice to see someone else's take on something or how they approach a certain thing or ideas that sometimes we get stuck in our own environment and our bubble. So it's really nice to see with the same kind of material or a new approach to it, how a different culture or a
Isn't
different.
it true? It's so true. There are so many ways to approach uh, the theories and the subject matter and just the music. And we can only grow. There's just not one way. And we need to be reminded of that. And you are reminded of that when you travel, when you get out, when you
Yes.
go to a conference. I'm all for professional development
Yeah.
for these young people. I talk about a little talk on how important it is because you may be the only music person at your school. You might be the only jazz performer in your town if you're in a smaller town,
Yeah.
and it's just important to get out and meet and explore.
Yeah.
Traveling is good in all forms, and being open to others' ideas. Traveling opens your mind to that.
Yeah. Well, it makes you, I mean, certainly more open-minded, but also uh, when you're approaching possibilities, the possibilities become actually endless because you're looking at different horizons. I mean, I remember as I was studying at university, as I was doing my bachelor, every summer I would go to 3 or 4 different camps. You know, a marimba camp, a jazz camp, one of those
Good,
aerosol
good.
camps, drum camps, whatever I can get my hands on. And I used to work a lot, but my subs used to work more than me.
Oh,
I was for a while I was called Mr. Sub because I was one of the busiest guys in town because I worked. I was practicing 8 hours a day. I was studying in New York every month, back and forth, and I was going to all these camps. And I had all this work, but my subs were working more than I was. But it was fine by me.
great.
But I mean,
That's
it did
great.
change my whole the way I see things, or I saw things at the time. It really expanded, and I was on a whole totally different place than most people who had a limited vision. And it was not their fault. You know, when you're living in a small place and you haven't moved from there, you haven't seen, you have not been inspired, or certain things are not instigated in you. But when you put yourself out there and you're with people who are constantly challenging you in a good way,
Yes.
call it challenging your vision, challenging the way you would do things, get you out of your comfort zone, you know, all of those things that are really important in development. That makes you really grow, not just grow, but also expand your personal horizons and the possibilities. And then of course, the more you know that you don't know, which opens up a whole other.
Isn't that true? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that is so true. Yeah, absolutely. Will you have a background of classical and jazz? Do you
Yes.
still do much classical?
Not as much as before, but with repercussion. I mean, I have a double degree. I studied. I have a bachelor in performance in percussion and also a jazz performance. So it was a double degree that I got. And then I studied ethnomusicology in graduate studies. And with repercussion, which was the group that I met, the guys, we met each other at university. The whole percussion thing, of course, we expanded our own repertoire with classical and contemporary music, but at the same time, we were all rock and rollers and people interested in jazz and everything. And we brought in everything. So we would play with symphony orchestras as guests. We would play African music. We would study with African masters, the whole
Great.
Cuban thing, everything we can get our hands on. So it really helped me to expand my own, not just my own borders, but I don't see the difference. To me, there are 7 notes, actually 12, and the rhythms. Well, the rhythm is just a language, and now I've gotten to a point where after seeing the relationship between cultures, and I'm really big on that, and I wrote a book, Cuban Rhythms for Percussion and Drum Set, after spending about over
Yeah,
22
yeah, I
years in
saw that.
Cuba, back and forth 7, 8 times a year, realizing, you know, the whole complexity of it all. But it all comes down to, recently I said, I pronounced it, I said, there's no difference, there's no two things, it's not melody and rhythm, it's all melody. No such thing. If there's no rhythm, there's no melody. So it's all melody, period.
Mhm.
And that's a language, and that's it. You know?
Well, let me ask you, how did you get so very uh, interested and involved and an expert in Cuban rhythms when people probably think you are Cuban before they know that you're Italian?
Yes.
So how did you get there? You know, I went to Cuba to the Havana Jazz Festival in January this year with the Chicago Jazz Philharmonic, and then the great
I was
Robert
there
Davis
actually.
perform. But how did you,
Well, that's a good question. Number one, curiosity. Number
okay,
two, way back when I was doing my trips to New York, was studying with drummers, I met people like Steve Gadd, Alan Schwartzberg, all of these people who invite me to their sessions. And I also studied with Cuban masters in New York because I was just curious. And then as I was learning as a percussionist, I wanted to know everything. It's, that curiosity was beyond me. And then one day I was on vacation to Cuba, and I had never really thought about it for some odd reason because New York was the centerpiece for me. Then I went to Cuba on vacation, and a friend of mine called me from Los Angeles, and he said, since you're going to Cuba, you have to meet this drummer, composer. His name is Giraldo Piloto, who is kind of in Cuba. He's kind of number two after Chucho Valdez. There's Giraldo Piloto. He's a great composer. He has a group of 16 musicians called Climax with a K, and is an incredible drummer. He is responsible for developing the whole timba style. And so he said, when you go there, you have to call him. You have to meet him. So I said, sure. And then I'm just on vacation. I was, really tired I was on tour, and I really needed a break. And then I'm looking around, I'm hearing all of these great musicians everywhere. And so I called my friend, I called Piloto. He immediately came out. I guess my other friend let him know that I would call him. So we met, and we became instant friends. And then I said, there's more to this than I had no idea what level. And then I said, I have to find a way to do a cosa something here in Cuba. So he and I spoke, and then we kind of teamed up. He was doing a Fiesta del Tambor, which is a drum festival, but not really. It's really more of a rhythm festival. And I helped him. I said, here's a new name for the festival, and you should use this. I'll register it, but use it. It's the Havana Rhythm and Dance Festival. And then he would do a competition, drum set, conga, timbales, bongo, and bata. And then the winners would win the instruments. So we started this whole thing together. We would do the workshops during the festival. They would do the competition. Of course, they didn't have the instruments to give away to the winners. So for over 20 years, I've been bringing instruments for the contest winners. And, you know all about these kinds of things. If you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
That's right. That's right.
So then I got more and more interested in this just because I realized how complex this music is, how incredible this music is. And like Cuba especially, with my studies and my curiosity as a percussionist and musician, Cuba is not like one kind of music. It is a musical continent. And the more I was seeing, I would be in total awe and incredible. As I was studying with different people there as well, a friend of mine said, well, while you're in Havana, you should look up this group called Los Chinitos. Los Chinitos. And well, they're descendants of the Chinese immigrants to Cuba who started their own rhythms and their own instruments.
Yes.
And so I went to see them, and it was like way outside south of Havana in these little boroughs that felt like Africa. And it was amazing. And then I had this conversation with Horacio Hernandez, and I said, I can't believe I go like 10 kilometers one way or the other, and I'm hearing things I had never heard. And then I met Changuito, the famous Changuito, and he and I worked a lot together for many years, who just passed away, actually. And he said, and he starts laughing. He says, there's more here than in any musical continent. Well, of course, because they're all there. And this is like the motherland, of course, is Africa. But here, meaning here in Cuba, they had all these different lineages of music, West European, African, all of them. And they all came through there. And of course, the isolation factor
Yes, yes.
was amazing. So you had all of these different musics that were unrelated to each other, but there they are in their original and traditional forms, but also their developments. Unbelievable. And
Unbelievable.
so I can go on and on about that, but it's
I wanted to know that, and that's a
and
good
here's
start to it.
an interesting thing that just after while I was working on my book and doing a lot of that research, it dawned on me. I said, there's something that we're doing that's really not the best way of teaching. When we learn about Cuban music, and that's when we start looking at clave, which is wrong because clave should be the first thing that one should learn, just like music theory. Because Beethoven, anybody, any Western music is all based on clave. So Cuba just took it to a whole other level because there's a relationship, a different relationship because of instrumental parts. But it's all based on the melody. And the melody, if you have this tension release, well, that the clave is already built in there. Whether it's Beethoven, Mozart, Cole Porter, whoever, whatever it is, pop, apart from perhaps Indian classical music and Western contemporary music, apart from that, clave is the only difference is the binary or the ternary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing that should be learned first, along with music theory, period. The clave. What is that? It's not just a 5-note Cuban thing. They took it, of course. In Cuba, you can't play without understanding that. In most other cultures and other music, you superimpose and you don't even notice it, although you do it in kind of automatically as a musician. But in Cuba, you can't get away from it. We can't get away without understanding its relationship to all the instruments. So it goes to a whole other level, which is interesting.
Wow.
Well, so you asked the question.
I know, I'm glad. We got to go to the Institute of the Arts, the
Isa.
collegiate art school there. That was actually a country club before.
Yes, golf club. Yes.
And golf, yeah, golf course and all, and remade into this school for the arts. And I was amazed at how well the musicianship was stellar.
Yes.
They practiced so much, and you almost and then when they were introduced to improv, and these are more orchestral instrumental ensembles, uh, who said they don't play together very often. They individually practice, individually take lessons, and they don't play together very often. So when they do, they truly love it. And Orbit had them, doing some improv on some and doing background riffs and I was amazed at the quality. They sounded so professional, and was it because they're already great musicians, or was it because of their isolation and their feel of freedom in the music that they could be free to express how they were feeling? I just was amazed
Yeah.
by it. I
Well,
truly
the
was.
interesting thing is by the time they get to ISA, which is the Institut Superior
Yes,
del
Isa,
Artes,
Isa.
so they have
Yes,
this is the top level, which is like university level. But before
yes,
that, they go through these conservatories, and it's kind of when you're going to school, if you have musical talent or dance or art, you go to these special schools that half your day is of music or dance or art or that, besides your regular classes. And you do that all along, and then you go up through the conservatory, and then you go to ENA, which is Escuela Nacional de Artes, and then the superior one. By that time, the main training is purely classical.
yes.
And then at the same time now, they've been learning all of this music in the street, in the clubs, and all their lives. And also now in the conservatories, they have all the masters teaching them their music, which they've developed. So you have kind of a double whammy. So they're very used to understanding it and being play it. They can dance it. They understand it, and they're open to it,
Yes. Yes.
which is something everyone should be doing. The creative. You know, promoting
For
the
sure.
the whole creative in general, and not just later on. If somebody is at a level, then you go to school. And there, it's taken from when you're born. I'll
It
give you an
is. It
example.
is.
It was just very funny when I was going down there originally taking some lessons or studying with certain people. We'd be a bunch of us friends. We'd be going through old Havana. We come from somebody's house where I'm studying bata or rhythms or abacua or something, or rumba. And so we're in the street. We're having a great time, singing. This is like midnight, and we're going through the streets of old Havana. And as we're moving along, all of a sudden somebody comes out on their balcony and play the clave to us as we're moving along. Like we're like maybe 5, 8 people. And I'm looking up and I'm saying, what was that? Normally they call the police on us. you know. As we move along, somebody else comes out their balcony, they're in their pajamas, and they're dancing and singing along to us playing. We're all percussionists, so we're making a lot of noise. We're singing, doing some rumba in the streets, and they're just enjoying those 3 minutes that it took to go by
Yeah.
them,
Isn't
and
that
they go
something?
in. And that stayed in my mind. I said, "So that's what it is. It's part of the culture, it's a good thing. It's not a disturbance."
It was
you know?
called, it was called upon them. They had to go play that few measures. Yeah. You love
Yeah.
it. I mean,
And then
that's,
they go back to sleep. Then next day everything's okay. But
yeah.
all of those people are sensitized to that, and it's part of life.
And we have a tendency in this country in public education, well, parochial too, I think, to desensitize. I mean, w- we don't have them create soon enough,
That's right.
especially in our system of teaching instrumental music. Suzuki obviously had it right when they were playing by ear, and we need a Suzuki jazz thing because um, to have them play by the book until they're in junior high or high school and say, okay, now you're going to improv. And they go, what? I got
Yeah.
to have notes. I got to have notes.
Yeah.
We stifle it. And we do the same thing really in the English classes and history. We don't let them journal enough. We don't or encourage them to journal or, um, even my students at the college level, uh, you want a little report, you want to, how's the week going, and write something. How about if we just call you and tell you, well, it's really important to learn to write creatively too and share your thoughts, because then if you can write, you can speak.
Sure.
And but we the whole creative process is so vitally important to our society in problem solving and
Absolutely.
vision, and for us not to spend time nurturing creativity in our formal education places, not have most schools don't have creative writing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet we even in Illinois we has it as state standard that creativity, so they're trying, creativity must be experienced. And yet, if you're not in jazz band, the music teacher has to really work to get creativity
Yeah.
experienced in their classrooms.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I fight this all the time with the local politicians, and I always make that case whenever I can, that the creative starts. It's not just musically creative. You can be creative in sports, dance. Why are they taking out programs in schools that take out the creative part? That creative could be the person who comes up with the next iPhone or the next technology that solves health issues. It's all about the creative.
I bet the guys who are gals who just, invented the COVID shot when we so desperately need. I bet they were musicians. I bet they were.
Chances are, usually people are, and a lot of doctors have a lot of background in music. Oddly enough,
That's so true, so
yeah,
true. And I remember all my years of teaching, some of the really brilliant students I had that were played so well, they went on to be doctors or
sure. And
lawyers.
that reminds me. I read a report once that's no somebody did a research. I'm not sure if it was in Texas or one of the big medical schools, where the dean of the school said, anyone who comes to study medicine, they have to have had musical training.
Love
Otherwise, they don't get in,
Love
because
it.
they know that whole process that breaks it down. And as like we do a lot of building, a team building for companies. It's a thing called drumparties.com, which is also team building.
Oh,
And
that sounds great.
and the thing that I showed them, I said, when you look at an orchestra, they have to play together. Nobody goes faster. Nobody goes louder. Of course, they're watching a conductor because he shapes the music. He or she shapes the music. But individually, we all know it has to work together as a community. So learning that as a baseball team or a soccer team or a hockey team, it's the same thing. Everything has to work in that like Swiss gears, and in music is even more so heightened, because you have to be in tune. You have to play at the same time. You have to play louder, not louder, but exactly the way it was designed. If you're the melody, well, you're not less loud than the bass drum. Things have to make sense. So that's team building. That's
It is.
problem solving. So when the problem solving at that moment is instantaneous, and you're constantly adjusting. Now, if you take that knowledge, and it's a transferable knowledge to something else, whatever it is, you're team building, you're solving problems, you're constantly problem solving. And it's not a problem. That's just a mechanism that is automatic, right?
Mhm.
When you think about it.
Yes, yes. And creativity is the solution to problem solving.
Yes.
Yes.
And in schools, I mean, I see it. I see it with my own kids. I had tremendous arguments with their principals, and I say, you're taking the creative out.
Yes.
The creative should be at kindergarten and then beyond. Who needs another class in stuff that makes no sense? You should be teaching them the creative, how you also deal in the real world situations.
That's right.
People should learn how to cook, how to take care of themselves, finance. Because otherwise, you cannot be creative, and there are many different ways to do all of those things. So when it comes a time to say, okay, how would you enact this? Well, you have to take that creative, and how does one thing relate to another? That's part of the creative. So you don't build robots. You don't create robots who just yes people, but actually say, how would this end up there? What is that vision? Like, think of that vision. What should it look like? And then say, okay, how do you make it happen? Right?
Well, one of the other things is many colleges and universities don't require their music teachers to take a jazz class or an improvisation class. And I wish that was required by NASM, National Schools Music, because again, that's just experiencing the creativity. I mean, it's not too late to be set free there, but if they haven't had it and then they go and get hired, oh yeah, you're going to have a jazz band. What? Oh, I have to do that. Now what do I do?
Yes.
that panic. And of course, they can work an ensemble and they can listen and do style, but truly, yeah, we need to do more there. And I just have seen that after years and years and years.
Sure.
And this emphasis in the schools on big bands, which I did it too. Um, but the real learning takes place in combos, in the interaction and the conversation of improvisation between one another. So if I did it over again, I would do far more combos than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the big band is a great thing, but that's just
It's a
because you could
great
put
thing. I love it.
more.
Love it. But it's limiting
Sure.
creatively, it's limited.
Sure, sure. It's a completely different animal. I remember when I was teaching at McGill, I was an adjunct teaching the music students, people in the music education department, taking that percussion techniques class,
Sure,
and
sure.
and I after a while I had to leave at one point because you make them understand that you're a person going to be in front there. And if you don't know certain things, or at least know where to find the information or find the resources, you're going to be stuck. And you're going to be teaching kids things that you don't even know or don't even want to know. So you have to be able to bring it forth and say, okay, I don't know this, so bring somebody in. And I remember way back, I would bring them, since they didn't have some instruments at the school, I brought them to my studio sometimes, and instruments they had never seen. And I say, so what would you do with that? And where does that come from? And and learning some improvisation in the context. And it was weird for them because they would say, well, how's that going to help me when I'm in a band? I said, well, if you don't know how to explain certain things, you're going to look like they're in the wrong place, and you can't stay in historically one place because the world moves forward with this new information coming at us. You should at least be aware of it and know where to find that and what to do with it. Be an instrument of like the director of traffic, and none of us know everything. But some of us know where to find that information, though. It makes it.
That's right. That's right. We can always get some help from the
Sure.
right place. And if you can do that, then you're doing the right thing. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you're in Havana in January. I was there actually during that festival. So
What?
yeah, I was there in January. I was there. We had a group, a COSA group there.
Well, I didn't see it when we were there because I would have made sure I was there.
I mean, we on our group we would attend concerts every night. We went to see
Yeah.
Antonio
Right,
Sanchez.
right, right.
Antonio Sanchez one night. We had, and also we have an ethnomusicologist who I bring on board, and a lot of the local guys who give the classes, and I'm facilitating this. And then, we also have big bands or groups that we take down. And I mix them up and we do concerts and I invite some Cuban artists as a
Yes.
surprise.
Fit in.
And as I did this past March, because I was back in March with a big band, and as they were performing, I had invited Amadito Valdez, who was the percussionist of Buena Vista Social Club, the original one. He was
Oh,
a good friend, and he's one of our instructors there. So I looked over when the band was playing their final number, when it was the big grand finale, and I looked over and I says, Amadito, why don't you sit in the last? And he looked at me, he says, you sure? I said, absolutely. So I waved to the conductor, and he looking at me, and I said, so
yeah.
Amadito runs back, sits in with the band, and the place went crazy. It's,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing we do because it's
great.
easy to do, and we're all into that kind of thing. But I'm glad you went. That's
Yes, yes, for sure. And how many years have you been going there?
about 22 now, 22, 23.
That's a lot. That's a lot. You know that country pretty well and the people.
Yes. And I work very closely with the Ministry of Culture, and
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
we've got this whole thing down, and we take 2 or
Great.
3 groups a year. I go for our workshops, and now actually we're establishing the same thing in Italy, in Calabria.
Yes, your hometown?
The area, yeah, I was born in Reggio, but I have a house not far from there in Cropani Marina
Okay.
that I spend, and I have my studio there as well.
Oh, that's
And
great.
and
That's
now
great.
we're collaborating with the Catanzaro Jazz Festival. Catanzaro is the capital of the region, and so I'm building this other bridge to Calabria, which is often overlooked by tourists. In some way, that's a good thing, because it's a phenomenal place. It's a paradise, and there's so much going on. So many great artists, musicians, and they have conservatories there that are of the level. And there's one right in the town, so we're collaborating with them as well. And
Oh,
so
wonderful.
I'm trying to see, and I think it'll work. They're all excited. So we're building that bridge, and then eventually we'll bring groups over there and do these exchanges also with them.
And that's all southern Italy?
Yes,
Pretty much
I'm
southern.
specifically interested in Calabria, southern Italy, which is um, the Big Toe area.
Yes.
And it's great because there's an international airport right there. All the infrastructure is there. Everything is there. And I said, this is paradise. And the food is pretty good.
Oh, I'm telling you, I've been watching. I don't even watch cooking shows, you know. I'm not a cook. I love to eat, but I'm not a great cook. But yeah, I've been spending the last couple nights with Gino's Italian Escape. I believe he's all over
Oh, yeah.
cooking outside in the orchard and the gardens
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
fresh and beautiful. It's just yeah, it's
What we
fabulous.
do
Oh,
in what we do there is a retreat. It's less of a camp, but it's more of a music, cultural, a culinary retreat.
I
Which,
saw that sounds so interesting.
oh, yes. And we have
And you
cooking.
get the fan too, right? The fan that maybe hasn't been a musician before that
Exactly,
will go
exactly.
on that.
Absolutely. So it's then it's
Beautiful.
geared towards the population. We have small groups, we take 20 at the most. And then we'll have cooking classes. We have classes in tarantella, the dance, the drumming, the history. We go to
Mm.
concerts. We create our concerts, and we'll have musicians come in and we'll do classes in music. But it's really about the context, the musical context, and cultural context, and of course, cooking classes and Italian classes. And
I just might have to come over for that one. Yeah,
well,
sounds
I think
great.
I think what's important, the message that I'm sending out there is, it's nice, and I think it's great to be able to learn music. But now you have this gift that we've been working on all our lives. How do we share that? How do we learn about how the other one relates to what I am doing, and also expand our own mindset and horizons in a cultural context, which is guided by people who know, who've been there, who understand, and can open your eyes, because it's a short time, but at least it's a great introduction to experience.
Mm.
Anyway, so did I get you hungry?
Sounds, yes, hungry and ready to travel again and
Yeah.
all those good things.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and as
Absolutely.
you say, the whole traveling. The more you travel, the more you understand, and music for us is like our vehicle. We could be anywhere, right? And sharing, whether you're in Chicago, in New Orleans, Rome, or in Catanzaro in Calabria, or Havana, same notes, same notes.
Same notes, just shared with new people. And
Yeah.
then,
No. It's a beautiful thing, and that's why I get excited when every time I see you. You're such an inspiring person, and
oh, thank you.
hardworking, and always coming up with something, which is great, as it should be. Always saying, how can we make this even more interesting? I get excited, to see
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. And we're so fortunate to again have I'm not sure if I chose a career or it chose me. Um, but to do something that I love all my life, um,
Yep.
in a couple different districts and situations, and I just feel so very blessed that I've been so fortunate, and I'm still doing it, and my sisters will say, you need to slow down, you're not as young as you used to be. I said, if I die tomorrow, I'm doing stuff I love, and
Yes.
and I'm happy, and thank you God, I've been
Yeah.
around and enjoyed it all. So
Yeah, yeah. And when somebody asks you the question, as they do me, what are you going to do when you retire? And my first
he said,
answer
I
would
am
be,
retired.
I can't. I've never had a job. I can't get a job. What would I retire from? And what? Stop having so much fun?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The
so
joy.
yeah, no, no, don't stop, don't stop, definitely don't stop. And that's the other thing when people have in their mindset that they stop, and that's the tragedy sometimes of people who are teaching or working in a full time job. The day they actually stop is that's when they actually start dying
You know,
because
the great David Baker from Indiana University that started
yeah,
that just, you know, I knew him and never had him as a teacher, but as a mentor. And I was smart enough, I'd sit by him at the board meetings, and try to learn, and Lida's just equally is just amazing. But he would always say, don't retire, don't retire. I'm never retiring. And he got up there and he still shuffled to class and did his sharing.
oh
And
yes,
um and I thought, oh no, there's a time to just chill, but
sure,
you got to do what you love. And if
yeah,
this is what you love,
yeah.
even if you do it a little less, keep doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And I
Right?
remember him because I used to go to his classes at these camps, so I got
Ah,
to know him very well.
yeah, yeah.
He was another force. I mean, all those guys in the National Stage Band camps that I went to, Jamie
Yes, yes.
Aebersold camps I went
Oh
to.
yeah. And,
I mean,
and Jamie is still, you're on his mailing list. You get his
oh yes,
all of his don't smoke and anti-Trump and all his things that he gets going on. But he is alive and well and kicking. And the secret, I think, to a happy life is to follow your passion as much as you can.
sure. Whatever that is. And people like that do a lot of good just by being and just by doing. Jamie's a great example because he is
Great
like he's been
example.
there like for the last 3,000 years.
Yeah.
And he's brought people together. I mean, through those camps, I met so many great people that I ended up working with later. But just always on that, learning into improvise, introducing you to new records, introducing you to new ideas and the people that he would bring on board. And all of these conferences, I mean, Jen included. I mean, it's that whole idea of bringing these things without stopping.
Without stopping.
Love
It's
it, love
so
it.
late. Yeah, when someone's bragging about or complaining, they have to go to a conference, math teachers or insurance agents, friends of mine. I go, hey, you've never been to one of our conferences. You'd be looking forward to it. And we don't stop until we have to,
Yeah.
and we don't start the sessions too early in the morning either.
That helps. But that's an interesting thing because we always look forward to these. And I know what you mean. These other conferences are really, I mean, they're definitely not as interesting to us, but for them, it's exchange of information, but they're not really on the level that we're used to that touches your mind, your soul, your well being. And when you come back, you're a better person. That's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah. It is the way it goes. You're inspired, and we are inspired. So what we do inspires our other friends and inspires our students. And it's just a ripple effect that affects so many people in the end. And
Yeah. And it makes the world a better place.
absolutely. Amen.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, we could talk forever, I'm sure, but I really want to thank you for taking the time. Finally, we got this together and we did it. I said, I hope it happens, because sometimes you say something might come up, but I hope it not. So thank you for doing this. And
My pleasure. My pleasure, Aldo. Grazie mille. Is that correct?
grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
Yay! Con gran piacere. And with big pleasure.
Oh, and prego?
You can say prego, but on the other side, I'm saying with pleasure. Yeah, yeah, and I, as I always say, to be continued.